Thanks again for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think there's a couple things here. First of all, the stock was clearly just priced for perfection. Apple benefited from flight to quality phenomenon earlier in the year, and as you see, Apple stock reached new all-time highs. So, given the fact that that was the case, people definitely expected perfect numbers, and I think that bulls got what they wanted via the services revenue growth and the commentary for the forward quarter that services revenue would accelerate. However, the fact that the Mac and iPhone revenue was weak and expected to be weak going forward just kind of is an indication that, look, we all have to face it. Apple's products are largely penetrated, and it's just not really a growth story anymore when it comes to their hardware. So you definitely have like a slowdown in overall consumption of consumer electronics. You have difficult comps, and you have just high penetration for Apple in general relative to a stock that's really priced for growth. And that's more of a reflection of just the quality of the name and the fact that people felt safe running there earlier in the year than actually the numbers that they're putting up. So I wasn't really surprised to see the stock reaction. I think that if it was something other than Apple, it probably would have been down more. But yeah, you see 2% down in the aftermarket. It might be a little bit more today, and I think that's probably appropriate for what they put up.
When is Apple going to return to top line growth?
Well, I think we'll see this new iPhone release, and I think that that's going to be something that's pretty indicative of, is it a penetration issue for Apple where look, they just can't really grow iPhones that much more anymore because this many people around the world have them, simply put, or is it an issue where they can still take some more market share with better hardware releases? So I think that's kind of a bit TBD, but from a hardware perspective, I think Apple needs to come up with a little bit more innovation, maybe some new products, something else to kind of penetrate the market. Because from an iPhone perspective, I mean, people already have them, and I think that that's just something that people need to come to terms with regard to the company, the stock, and the growth trajectory going forward. And this is why people are very focused on the services element of the business for the bull case.
Josh, it's Arjun here. Fascinating on the innovation point. It's something we've been thinking about a lot here. Look, there are the short-term issues in the smartphone market. Then there are structural issues. People holding on to phones longer, people going for refurbished handsets, etc., etc. So on the innovation front, what would you like to see from Apple? Is it about foldables like rivals Samsung and others have done? Is it something else on the handset front?
Yeah, I think, look, on the handset front, I think that what Apple has done a good job with and should continue to do a good job with is really content creation. Because if you think about where most of the engagement in the world is really going from Apple's consumers, it's apps like Instagram and, where people are recording their own content. And Apple is known to have, a very good camera feature. And I think that that's something that Apple, should continue to innovate going forward. And the more that they give the capability on their phones to create content ahead of their competition, I think the more that they're really going to kind of penetrate that like millennial, Gen X, Gen Z market and take any incremental market share that they can from anybody else that's out there. I don't know that kind of foldables is something that really is that big of an impact. If you think about it, people like Apple products or they don't, right? And it seems like the biggest driver between the two is what you can do with the phone. And I think content creation is probably most important to the young generation these days.